David Benavidez, the Mexican Monster, versus Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade. Who's gonna win? Man, I don't know, man, because this is a tough fight. I mean, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, a fighter that hasn't been getting his just due, arguably one of the most ducked fighters in recent times. I mean, there's been some managerial issues, we understand that, and there's been some other reasons why he hasn't been in the fight. But honestly, he wanted to fight Canelo. There's a lot of guys he wanted to fight. Now he gets his big opportunity. Does he have what it takes to beat a guy? You know what I'm saying? Like David Benavidez, who's just been walking guys down, beat Caleb Plant. I mean, he fought as an amateur, as a heavyweight, and now he's fighting as a super middleweight, as a professional fighter. Eddie, you being a world-class professional fighter and having experience in this department, what do you see, and how do you see the fight playing out?
He's a really, really good fighter that a lot of people haven't seen in a while. So it's unfortunate for him in that department. He hasn't had the fights that we think he deserves. But he's still a fantastic fighter. You know what I mean? He's been a little inactive. I mean, he's had some fights recently, but he's a special fighter. I met him when he was a young guy, and seen him as he came up. He's been really good at it.
It's crazy because I remember when I was still in the gym training as a boxer. I was already kind of done competing, but I was training as a boxer in my 20s. He was already a top guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like that's how long this guy's been in the game, man, and he really didn't get a chance to shine. David Benavidez, he's kind of steamrolling everybody. Everybody's got really high hopes on him, but a little vulnerable. He kind of keeps himself in the center line. He kind of fights out of that peekaboo high guard stance. Seems vulnerable. And when I say vulnerable, I mean he can lose rounds. Right. And with a guy like Demetrius Andrade, I feel like, can he afford to do that? You know what I mean? Considering that he's a southpaw, he's going to be turning at all times. He's got good enough power.
Yes.
And he's hungry. I mean, let's be honest. This is his big opportunity. What do you see? First and foremost, who do you think is going to win? Or before we get to who you think is going to win, what's the game plan for Boo Boo if Boo Boo wants to win the fight?
If he wants to win the fight, just a couple different things. One thing, he does have to obviously try to hold his range the best way he can. Utilize his jab, utilize that advantage that he has as southpaw. Keep turning him and not get too complacent in the spot to where, of course, David Benavidez can then steamroll him, as we like to say, and then keep his hands moving, keep his hands on him, maybe land some of that big power that he has too. And a lot of times with David Benavidez's power, it comes not just with one shot, multiple different shots.
Can I ask you a question real quick? Because we all know, get in your boxing stance. You're a Boo Boo Andrade, so you're a southpaw. We know that the key right now for the southpaw is to get there so he can go ahead and land that left hand down the pipe, right? That slip left hand. But do you think that could be dangerous with a guy like David Benavidez who likes to walk in? If you try to slide that way, maybe walk into a hook?
He could cut you off with the hook, absolutely.
So what do you think that Demetrius needs to do to prevent that?
I think, obviously, in order to throw that hook, you got to get to a certain range, unless you just want to be wild and reach. And if you reach, that could be dangerous. And I don't think he has a low IQ, even though he's a I was going to say a brawler, but he's a pressure fighter. He doesn't have a low IQ. He knows how to fight. But if I'm Andrade, I'm going to try to keep range in between him. I'm going to try to do my very best as a southpaw to utilize my jab. And as I'm utilizing my jab, I'm going to try to get this angle. I'm going to try to fight for that angle. If he doesn't get it, if he doesn't give it to me, I'll walk a little bit, have him come take steps toward me, then I'll get to my side. You know what I'm saying? I'll move. I'll make him come do what he wants to do. He wants to come forward. You know what I mean? I'm going to allow him to come forward. Then I'm going to take the angle. And every once in a while, I'm going to surprise him with a straight left hand. If I'm Andrade, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have him follow me if I can't have him follow me. When he starts to cut off, then I'm going to get to my side. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
And I'm going to utilize my jab in doing so. Always keep him off balance with that jab because he's looking to get to you. He's looking to get his hands off. He wants to throw multiple punches. He doesn't necessarily want to box with you outside. He wants to close the gap. Even though he's kind of a tall guy, he still wants to close the gap and then start to smother you with shots. But if you can keep that jab, if you can make him respect you just enough to where you can get your power shots off, kind of like Caleb Plant was doing early in the fight. If you can make him respect you enough, give you some time, maybe you can get a foothold. And I think maybe Andrade may be a little bit more powerful than Caleb Plant, I'm not sure. But he does have that southpaw advantage, and he has that angle. He can utilize that. He can land the left hand, boom, get to the side, spin out, and keep him turning all night. If he does that, I think he might be able to get a win.
Okay. Now, if you're David Benavidez, how are you going to approach the slick southpaw who's going to be doing all those things that you just explained?
Lord, if I'm David Benavidez, I'm trying to close the gap, all right?
Now, he's an orthodox, right?
He's an orthodox.
All right, so
fighting a southpaw, which obviously could be complicated. So in a lot of cases, especially when you got a slickster like Andrade right on the other side, he's going to be doing what I was trying to say. Hopefully, in my mind, if I'm a supporter of him, I'm going to say he's hoping to be able to use that right hand, that right jab to deter you from attacking. But if you're Benavidez, if I'm Benavidez, I'm looking to also kind of somewhat establish my jab, or maybe feint, maybe make him move a little bit, maybe make him move a little prematurely. And then after that attack, you know what I'm saying? But still utilizing the jab to close the gap, if you can, the most you can. You know what I mean? Because then you don't want to allow him to start getting the advantage, especially if he's going to his right. Well, yeah, I'm southpaw. He's going to his right side, doing that tap over, catching you with the jab over the top, which is then going to give him free reign to do whatever he wants from the outside. But he needs to close that distance too. And also, as he starts to make that move, just like you said earlier, try to do them cutoff shots. Especially if you're pressuring him, you're walking him down, you want to make sure you keep him right in his firing zone. Don't let him get too far outside of that. Because once he gets this side, he's going to have you turning like this all night. So for him to close the gap with the jab, utilize feints, make him move a little prematurely, then react. Cut off shots to the body if he can. Obviously defensively responsible after. And then once he gets in his zone where he wants to be in his punching range, let those hands go freely. Make him tie up. If you do that as Benavidez, I think you got a good shot at winning.
Yeah, man. I think I agree with Eddie for most of those points, man. I think that if Boo Andrade on the defensive end circles to his left, which would be David Benavidez' right, that'll kind of keep him in a good position because I feel like he's going to be looking for that cutoff left hook quite a bit.
True.
And I feel like he'll be reaching with that right hand. So if he can get him to reach and he can slip that right hand and get out of it, but when he decides to be offensive, do what Eddie said, cut back over to his right, drop that left hand lead, spin around and cut him off. I mean, land those shots and turn them. I think that he could win in decision. We all know that David Benavidez has that punch, and he could definitely let his hands go in flurries if he needs to. This is a tough fight, man. This is a really good fight. I think this really comes down to not only who can establish what, but how much Boo Andrade really has left. I think if Boo Andrade has enough in the tank, and he hasn't fully turned old overnight like they like to say. Because they're going to say he turned old overnight, but the truth is he's been in this game quite a long time. If he still has enough youthfulness to go 12 rounds and fight strong, I believe that Boo Andrade can win a 12-round decision. I think that he has more in his arsenal. I think he's strong enough. I think he hits hard enough. I think he has enough boxing skills. And I believe being a southpaw is going to be a big issue for David Benavidez. However, if he slows down in this fight, mid-fight, 6 through 12, I can see David Benavidez doing what he always does, which is eventually catch up with his opponent, break him down, and potentially either stopping Boo late or winning a decision based off of just maybe doing the better work from mid half of the fight, or even maybe in some of those, third round, fourth round, going into the later half of the fight. So this is a really tough fight for me to score. I really don't know who I got winning as a prediction. Who do you got?
Honestly, man, since I've seen the fight with him and Caleb Plant, and you got to give Caleb Plant credit, man. He could fight. You know what I mean? He got all the way through with the Mexican monster. You know what I'm saying? So that says a lot. I think obviously his boxing ability is great, but I think Boo Andrade has very similar, maybe even more so. You know what I mean? And he has that southpaw advantage, and he has power. Not saying that Caleb Plant doesn't have power, because we know he has power. We've seen him knock guys out cold. But I think maybe Andrade has a little bit more, possibly. or at least a little more shocking kind of power, shock value. You don't see the shot coming. He throws sometimes big looping shots that you wouldn't expect coming from his style. So there is a chance that he can, shock you in a way like that. But I don't know, man. It's
a 50-50 fight.
I'm honestly thinking, if I want to be safe in a prediction, I would think that I would pick David Benavidez to maybe overwhelm him at some point in the fight late, not early. And maybe, like you said, maybe toward the end, maybe getting a decision, maybe stopping him late at the very end.
Or even getting a robbery decision somehow. I can see that too.
Hey, listen,
I can see that too.
I'm always on board for putting that out because I think Andrade can box, man. He can really box a lot more than people really know because, like I said, a lot of people hadn't seen him. So when you see how good he can box, and then especially if he's having so much success early, and he's not a small guy. He's my height. He's my size. He's 6'1", 100%. He can box and he can punch, and he's not a small guy. It's not going to be just easy for him to be overwhelmed.
I think a lot of people are going to underestimate Demetrius Andrade who haven't seen him fight. Right. A lot of people who are watching this are probably a lot of the younger guys, the younger fans, and maybe a lot of those guys haven't gotten a chance to really see Demetrius Andrade really box. Right. But we've been watching him for a long time, so we do know the threat that he poses. But again, it all depends on what he has left in the tank. And I think it's going to really come down to the second half of the fight, rounds 6 through 12, maybe rounds 8 through 12 is what's going to be the determining factor. And like I said, if Andrade has the youthfulness to make it through, I got him winning a decision. If he gets broken down, then obviously he got broken down. I know that's not the best prediction you guys want, haven't really given you an answer, but the reason I'm giving you guys both is because it really can go either way. It's a 50-50 fight. This isn't a whitewash for either fighter, and I believe that whichever fighter wins this Saturday, they both deserve full credit for this victory. There shouldn't be no excuses, none of that stuff. These are two talented guys, two of the best guys. They're putting on a great show, and I'm excited for it, man. And I'll be also live streaming it when it happens, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel so you guys can come out and hang out with me and Eddie and Zach, the cameraman Zach, and make sure you guys pull up, and you already know, Boxing Life.